Boomers have realized, hey, it's not good for other people to make fun of older adults when we're now the older adults. What we've seen is a preponderance and outgrowth in the last 5 or 7 years of anti-ageism efforts. Let's stamp out ageism. And that's a good thing to have that happen, because we got to call it out. We got to recognize that it's happening. We need to stop it.
Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. I'm Miriam Goodman, your co-host.
Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village SF. I'm your co-host, Lynn Winter-Gross. Next Village SF is a nonprofit providing older adults in the Northeast neighborhood of San Francisco with support to help age in place.
Thanks to science, good genes, and more information about how to stay healthy and live longer, older adults today are in a unique time and place in history. In our parents' generation, many reached their 60s and 70s and believed it was time to stop working, stop learning, stop enjoying life. Today, most older adults hope to have perhaps 20 more years of good health ahead of them and plan to use the time for travel, relaxation, or even a new career. And we won't be alone. Every day, 10,000 people turn 65, and we can no longer be considered a forgotten minority.
As we often say on Not Born Yesterday, we have experience, wisdom, ingenuity, and most importantly, time. If we choose, we can share these things with family, friends, organizations, our community, society, and culture. But how? According to today's guest, we can do it by being openly gray. Matthew Thornhill is the CEO and founder of Openly Gray, a nonprofit dedicated to helping older adults become and stay involved in living. Mr. Thornhill is a former marketing executive, and he says that the first step is accepting and celebrating our age. He says we can't change outside attitudes until we accept ourselves. Matt Thornhill, welcome to Not Born Yesterday.
Hey, happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Well, let's start with the obvious question. Why the name Openly Gray? And why the play on openly gay? Do you think older people really have to come out of the closet about their age?
Yeah, I do. It's interesting. This really isn't about hair color. The impetus for it, obviously, was there are a group of women over the course of the last 5-7 years who have come out on social media as saying, I'm not going to color my hair anymore. I'm going openly gray. I had happened to have never heard the expression, despite my hair color, which nobody can see, but it's very openly gray. But anyway, I'd never heard the expression. And when I heard it, I thought, wow, that's clever. That's cute. Makes sense. It's about hair. But the more I thought about it, I said, wait a second, why can't it be more than that? Because it really does represent what we need to do. If we're going to transform how people think, feel, and act about being older, it's got to start with us. And we've got to change how we think, feel, and act about being older. We can't be ashamed of it. We can't hide it. We can't be in the closet about it. And yes, this is definitely leaning on what the openly gay movement was able to do back in the, I guess, started in the 70s and 80s. That it was really important for them to come out and accept themselves. And when they did, the rest of society and culture had to accept them. Well, older adults are everywhere, and yet we want to hide. We want to hide that we're older. We want to be, sent to the sideline and go off to retire someplace in a southern climate and live happily ever after. It's like, no. That doesn't need to happen. We're not done yet. We still have abilities to contribute, capabilities to lean into, and we can still make a difference. So there's no reason for us to hide. We got to come out and say that we're openly gray. And we don't care what color your hair is. We don't care if you even have hair. That's not what it is. It's what's on the inside that we care about. It's a mindset, not an appearance.
So why are you doing this now? Did you suddenly see a need or a shift in attitude that seemed to encourage you to start this organization?
Well, really, there's 3 things that came about that made this something that I just felt compelled to start. And that was the broader demographic shift. which is we've got this group of baby boomers who finally made it to their late 50s to their mid 70s, and they're just going to continue to grow older. You mentioned that statistic that everyone's been talking about for 10 years, about every day 10,000 more people turn 65. But the reality of it is that it's not going to stop when boomers stop reaching age 65. So this is our future. Our future in America is that by the time all the boomers get there in 2030, 1 in 5 people in America will be over 65. We're going to have an army of older adults that we've just never had before, never existed in history before. So that's the first thing, this big demographic shift. The second thing is that it's this particular generation that's reached this stage of life. Whether they want to admit it or not, boomers are now in the third quarter of life and entering the fourth quarter. Not at the 2-minute warning, to use a football analogy, but they're now kind of at that older adult stage of life, and they realize that. And part of that realization has led to the third thing, which is boomers have realized, hey, it's not good for other people to make fun of older adults when we're now the older adults. So what we've seen is a preponderance and outgrowth in the last 5 or 7 years of anti-ageism efforts. Let's stamp out ageism. And that's a good thing to have that happen, because we got to call it out. We got to recognize that it's happening. We need to stop it. So those 3 things are what kind of led me to, okay, now's the time to do this.
Okay, so you're talking about changing attitudes and changing the culture. Are you also looking to change public policy and change how governments are reacting to ageism?
I don't know if that's going to be part of our responsibility. One of the things that we're interested in doing is, as an organization, is letting our members, we're going to call them openly gray ambassadors, to let them set the agenda. We're not going to have a political agenda. We're more interested in a practical agenda of where can we help and how can we help, starting in our local communities and then expanding out from there. So I wouldn't say that we're set on a particular policy. There's others out there who are more interested in doing those things, and we're going to leave that up to them. What we really want to do is to change attitudes and change perspectives so that people start celebrating and embracing this stage of life. Because if we take it on and own it, that'll change how other people take it on and own it and look at it. It's been said that ageism is really us denigrating our future selves. It's not some other group, it's us older. And why would we do that? I mean, the rest of the isms are us denigrating some group that isn't us by skin color, religion, sexual orientation. We're always othering them. But in ageism, we're othering ourselves. And that doesn't make sense. So we got to clean that up.
I understand what you're saying, because recently Lynn and I were interviewed for a newspaper article about the podcast. And the very first question the reporter asked was, how old are you? What's your age? And I think both of us sort of were shocked that we had to reveal that so soon, before we even started talking to her. And why do you think it is that people are afraid to say the number or to accept the fact that we're older?
It's because in Western culture, maybe less so in Eastern culture, where Confucius said you needed to be subservient and obedient to your elders. Now, that was 2,000 years ago. Maybe now they're courteous and kind at best. But in Western cultures, we disregard our elders and we view them as diminished in some way, shape, or form. And with that cultural kind of standard, I'm not going to admit that I'm diminished because I've reached a certain number of years on the calendar. And if you think about it, I find it kind of odd because throughout our life as we grow up, we always view those older than us as superior to us. When you're an 8-year-old, you think a 12-year-old is the coolest person on the planet. When you're in high school, you think college kids are the coolest people on the planet. And somewhere along the line, that stops. And we think it stops somewhere probably when you reach early adulthood and you feel like you've got it all figured out, because age 25, most people think that, I've got this all figured out. And those older adults in my life, They're not keeping up with pop culture. They're not keeping up with technology. They are diminishing in my mind's eye. And I think back to myself at age 25 and 30, and my parents would call me up and say, Matt, the power went off again. Can you come over and reset the VCR? It's flashing 12 at me. And there's probably listeners to this podcast and know exactly what I'm talking about. And there's young folks listening to it and go, what's a VCR? But nonetheless, we were dealing with at 30, dealing with kind of the diminishment of they're not keeping up with technology. Well, but as the decades passed, as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that I don't have it all figured out. And like I said, I'm 62, and I fully appreciate that there's much for me to learn from someone who's 15, 20, 30 years older than me. But somewhere we realized somewhere we've got to change that attitude. I think about it this way, the expression came about when boomers started turning 50 and 60, that 50 is the new 30, and then it was 60 is the new 40. And I call BS on that and say, no. 60 is the new 60. We're changing what it means to be 60 or 65 or 70. And that's where we have to kind of admit our age and be proud about our age up front, because if we proclaim it and if we own it without apology, without shame, then those around us will have to too. Think about it. Bruce Springsteen is 72. Is anyone going to say to him, boy, he's still pretty good for his age? Some people will, but that's not how. He's just still pretty good, period, and still brings it. So he's changing what it means. And don't get me started on the Rolling Stones. I mean, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous.
It seems like it's an uphill fight because we see images of older people in books and TV and ads, and grandma's in the rocking chair, grandpa's in the rocking chair. And from the beginning, our kids are seeing that these are the ads and these are the images of older people. And then we start accepting them too.
Yeah, I agree. It's a heavy lift for sure. And efforts like Ashton Applewhite with her, Yo is this ageist, and calling out ageist behavior like that is important and needed. But to me, it comes across a little bit like now that we're the older adults, we're pointing out all this negative stuff we see. And it's a little bit like, get off my lawn. And we're being argumentative and you're doing something wrong, you better stop. And while that's important, and I support everything that the anti-ageism folks are doing, I think at the same time, we have to change ourselves, because our own attitudes and things that come out of our mouths perpetuate it. For example, have you ever said, oh, I'm having a senior moment? Well, of course you have, because that's kind of a common expression when you can't pull something up, immediately. But people at every age have trouble recalling something in the heat of a conversation or a moment. And they'll say, well, I'm having a senior moment. Well, let's start with us. We can get them to stop it. We can yell at them to stop it, but we need to stop it. We need to say something else. I'll give you a couple of suggestions. How about you say, hold on, I'm still buffering, or hold on, the file is still uploading, and just be patient with me. I'll get there in just a second, as opposed to I'm having a senior moment. That's something everybody can say at every age, and it takes age out of it. I'll give you another example of something that we need to stop saying. And we even say it ourselves as older adults. It's the compliment that we add at the end of so many things, ... for her age, or for his age, or for your age. She looks good for her age. Or he's in great shape for his age. Or she can really dance well for her age. Or he's so talented for his age. But if you think about it, if you took that out and changed it and said, she looks good for a Black woman, or he's in great shape for an Asian, or she can really dance well for a thick girl, or he's so talented for a gay man, we would no more tolerate that. And maybe there was a time and place where we would tolerate it, but we've grown out of that. Why have we not grown out of for her age or for his age? So again, it's something we need to stop accepting. If someone says that to us, we should be insulted and turn and look at them and say, "What did you say?" Because they are being ageist.
I get that rare compliment once in a while. You're so, oh, I never thought you were that age, and I never know exactly how to feel about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like when they say to you, like, should you be doing that at your age?
Oh.
It's like, excuse me, at what age should I be? What should I be doing at this age?
I even get that from doctors. If I'm seeing a new doctor and I tell them I play tennis, they say, "Really? You still play tennis?" I mean, they should be thinking about me as their patient for the next 20, 30 years, right? Not as just some old lady. Matt, tell us, I know you're just starting this organization and challenging a lot of things. What are your short-term and long-term goals for Openly Gray?
Well, I appreciate that. But yes, we are just starting. And really, if we're going to change attitudes to change the culture, and as Lynn said, it's going to be a heavy lift. It's going to take time and it's going to take some steps. So the first step is, well, we got to rally everybody. So we got to rally the troops. And that's really where we are today. Our short-term goals are to find people who already have this mindset and kind of assemble them together. We're going to, as I said, we're going to call them, our army is going to be the Openly Gray ambassadors. So we want to find them, the ones that already have it, get them to recruit their friends who have the same attitude and mindset, and bring them all in under the fold. And then secondly, we need to equip them. We need to put in their hands tools and things that they can use to really start changing their own attitudes, and then sharing it broadly. So there's work that's already been done by a lot of organizations out there on how not to be ageist and embracing positive messaging around growing older. But it's a little bit all over the map. So we're going to consolidate it into a very handy little toolkit or guide to say, here's the things you need to be an Openly Gray ambassador. Here are things that you can do about yourself for yourself as a starting point.
Well, Matt, I think you've given us a lot to think about, and I'm glad that you've been sharing your dreams and goals for your new organization with us. If there's anything else you want to add, please tell us.
Well, the only thing I'd say is that it's really for your listeners to think about their own attitudes and their own beliefs about, growing older is not a burden. Growing old, it comes with burdens, but growing older is a blessing. So let's embrace and celebrate this stage of life, and let's be openly gray. Because if we do it, if we own it, if we proclaim it, then they're going to have to put up with us.
Thank you so much. Our guest today was Matt Thornhill of Openly Gray. Today's News You Can Use segment is a musical one. We thought you would enjoy this clever song by Lauren Mayer. Lauren is an award-winning singer-songwriter who specializes in topical comedy tunes. Her latest hit, the sexual harassment prevention song, has gone viral with more than 3 million hits on Facebook. An honors graduate of Yale, she is a 5-time winner of the San Francisco Cabaret Gold Award and has numerous awards for her original songs and musicals. And as a performer, you'll see she's not afraid to deal with the issues of aging. Here is her song.
You won't hear me whining about the years of wear and tear. I found a silver lining, and it isn't in my hair. 'Cause with aging comes perspective, all the wisdom that you gain. Besides, I don't mind wrinkles, 'cause I want them in my brain. I'm not old, I'm vintage, I've stood the test of time. Living longer has made me stronger, and hey, this vintage babe is in her prime. I'm not old, I'm vintage. I'm not old, I'm vintage. Everyone's obsessed now with looking young and hip and thin. But hey, I'm at my best now, and I like the shape I'm in. Oh, I'm proud of my experience, all the battles I have fought. And it's not just my hot flashes that make me feel so hot. Oh, I'm not old, I'm vintage. I've stood the test of time. Living Living longer has made me stronger, and hey, this vintage babe is in her prime. I'm not old, I'm vintage. I'm not old, I'm vintage. I don't have to be invisible. I'm not hiding anymore. And I'm proud to say I'm a middle-aged woman. Hear me roar. Oh, hear me roar. Oh, I'm not old, I'm vintage. I've stood the test of time. Living longer has made me stronger, and hey, this vintage babe is in her prime. I'm not old, I'm vintage. I'm not old, I'm vintage. I've stood the test of time. Living longer has made me stronger, and hey, this vintage babe is in her prime. I'm in my prime. Oh, I'm not old, I'm vintage. I'm not old, I'm vintage. I'm in my prime. I'm in my
That's our
prime.
podcast for today. Our guest was Matt Thornhill of Openly Gray. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds, and our engineer is Jason Dahlstedt. You can learn more about Next Villages SF by going to their website, nextvillagessf.org. And thanks to you for listening. We'd love to hear what you want to discover and discuss. Please contact us at notbornyesterday@nextvillagesf.org. Be well, stay strong, and remember, you weren't born yesterday. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.